We begin in West Africa, where the Central Bank of Nigeria has raised its benchmark interest rate, known as the monetary policy rate, to 22.75%. This is the highest MPC rate increase ever, coming from the first time in 8 months. Now, the cash reserve requirement was increased to 45%. This was announced by the governor of the CBN, that's Yemi Cardoso, who chaired the Monetary Policy Committee meeting for the first time since he assumed office in September 2023. In 2023, Nigeria's MPC adopted a distinct approach, steadily increasing the MPR across 4 consecutive meetings, ultimately reaching a substantial 18.75% by the end of the year. Of course, joining me on the news right now to shed more light on this is Nasiru Agbalaya, News Central's business editor. Thank you for your time, Nasiru. Now, of course, interesting times, you would say, when it comes to Nigeria's fiscal, what I call it, policy right now. We understand that there has been an increase in the, monetary policy rate that's to about 22.75%. Now, what do you make of the many things the CBN governor said at this meeting?
Well, Dapo, it's quite interesting that this is the first time this CBN governor is hosting the Monetary Policy Committee. And with this, he has increased the interest rate. It is expected. Why? Because Nigeria's interest rate has risen to 29.9%. And he has set a target of reducing that interest rate to 21%. How soon that will be is a matter of time. But the interesting thing that he mentioned was after the whole meeting itself, during the Q&A session, where he mentioned that the intervention program, which his predecessor has been doing, that has stopped. He really emphasized on that and said that, yes, there's a lot of money, about 3 trillion naira that has been spent in that, but it is not what the CBN should be doing. The CBN, as we know, is in charge of banking regulation and literally guarding the economy. He wants to bring the CBN back to its core functions. And this meeting has truly proven that the CBN will go back to ensuring that the inflation rate is reduced, which is why this particular MPR was increased to 22.75. And apart from that, he also mentioned that the Naira is undervalued. We have seen the past couple of weeks where the dollar has been sold to BDCs as a way of boosting the value of the Naira. We remember that when he was appointed, the Naira was floated. So he and his team are doing a lot to try and save the Nigerian economy. He even mentioned that also, that the CBN is not responsible for the woes which Nigerians are currently experiencing. But they are doing everything they can to bring the nation's economy back on course.
Now, one thing the CBN governor did say is that they are in a position of trust. He really emphasized on that. But my question is, with this particular move now, what should we expect? What should be the expectant ripple effect on the economy and, of course, the lives of Nigerians?
Well, the ease of doing business has a big question mark as it is now. Why I'd say to fight interest rates, most central banks, which Nigeria has also done, increase their interest rate. Now, this also will cascade down to the banks, and they will also increase their interest rate. That means that SMEs, small businesses, would have more challenges in doing business. Why? The funds which they have borrowed, which they are servicing, now that now go up. The amount they will pay to service those loans has increased. Not just that, to access new facilities will become a bit of a challenge, because the interest rate, which was like 18% before, would go to around 20 or 21% now. So getting money to finance your project, your business, would be a bit more challenging for Nigerian businessmen.
All right. Nasiru Agbalaya, News Central's business editor, thank you for your time.
Great to be here.
All right. Now to update on the protest by the Nigeria Labour Congress. The Oyo State Governor, Seyi Makinde, on Tuesday joined the state chapter of the Nigeria Labour Congress in its peaceful protest. During the protest, the governor assured the protesters that the current hardship would soon be over. The workers began their protest from the NLC State Secretariat in Agodi in Ibadan, that's the state capital, down to Gate NTA Yemetu roundabout, where the governor joined the protesting workers. The protesting workers are urging the federal government to take immediate proactive measures to alleviate the hardship caused by the removal of fuel subsidy.
We'll be on the streets today and tomorrow, and peradventure nothing is done. There may be an indefinite strike. I'm aware there is a meeting going on with the national leadership and the federal government. Let's see whatever comes out of that end. We are not interested in creating an unbearable condition, but things are tense already. We just have to let the government know. That's all. One thing is obvious, people are hungry, and that is why they are angry. And the authority needs to quickly arrest the situation. And like we have presented our highlighted demands, agitations to the governor to pass it to the Mr. President, and likewise his colleagues in Nigeria. People, Nigerian masses are tired already.
I am begging you, this problem will be over. We had start riot in 1989 in this country. We know the end. What we want is bring everything that you think we can do in our state. Give it to me. We will sit down, look at it.
In the meantime, the nationwide protest organized by the Nigeria Labour Congress and other unions in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, was restricted by the Nigerian police force. Security situation and the fear of hungry Nigerians joining the protest to cause commotion were said to be the reasons for the restrictions. Now, News Central's Umaru Kedawa reports that the state leadership of the NLC, led by Comrade Yusuf Inua and other members of the union, tried to embark on the exercise few meters from the NLC secretariat, but were stopped from proceeding beyond barricades set by the Nigerian police. However, the protesting workers turned back and marched back to the NLC secretariat to voice out their grievances. Knew that protesters also hit the streets of Lagos to demonstrate against the rising cost of living as well as insecurity in the country. Anti-riot squad were deployed in strategic locations across the state to prevent possible breakdown of law as well as hijacking of peaceful protests by hoodlums. Some of the protesters urged the federal government to act on the economic hardship being experienced as well as other challenges facing the country. In Abuja, the nation's capital, protesters made their way into the National Assembly complex in compliance with the NLC's call for nationwide demonstration. The last time the NLC had a protest, the National Assembly gate was locked, and they had to break the gate to enter. Now, our correspondent, Marvelous Abumanu, was on ground and had this to say.
The NLC protesters have made their way into the National Assembly. Recall that the last time NLC had a protest and they got to the National Assembly gate, the security personnel there locked the gate against them, preventing them from having entrance into the National Assembly. But this time around is different. When the NLC protesters got to the National Assembly gates, lo and behold, the gate was widely opened for them to enter. I'll be bringing you more updates in Abuja for News Central. Marvelous Obama.
To discuss this, I am joined by political analyst and National Publicity Secretary, Labour Party, Dr. Abayomi Arabambi. Thank you for your time, Dr. Arabambi.
Yeah, good afternoon, Nigerians, and thank you for having me in this central.
Okay, now great. Let me start off with this. What do you think of the protest itself? Do you think it's timely?
Well, thank you very much. It is not timely because when you read, if you read the TUC press statement, they actually opine that the NSC was not supposed to embark on that strike. because it was not part of the agreement, that was being breached by the federal government, and that it could lead to anarchy. It could lead to anarchy. So if union, TUC are advising of, if the TUC are advising that, NSC are not supposed to go on strike because it could lead to anarchy, then leave more to be desired, simply because for us, Joe Ajero ought to have listened to TUC. People have been complaining. People are complaining of Oga. Nigeria have their right. But such a thing was not to be fueled by Joe Ajero, whom we now suspect is working for some, for democracy assassin who want to overthrow.
I'm sorry, those are pretty strong words. Do you have facts to back it up? I mean, because if one is to look at it too, Nigerians have a right to protest. It's constitutional. So,
I just said that, but TUC said we have a volatile.
And it's also an ingredient of democracy. So I don't see how, I would need you to clarify that.
Well, what I mean is this. TUC said Nigerian situation is very volatile. Now, that TUC, you understand, Engineer Osifo said they don't expect them to go into such. When two people are fighting, are you supposed to give a dangerous weapon to one person so that it can now inflict more injury on the other? Nigerians are complaining. We too we are complaining, but what we are saying is this. Do you have to cut somebody head because the person have a headache? They didn't engage government on this. They just decided on a unilateral strike. And that's why we have been mounting this mutual suspicion, because they were supposed to work together. But you saw the TUC saying they cautioned them because it could lead to anarchy. And when there is anarchy, what happens? Breakdown of law and order, and a possible overthrow for democratic government. So why are they seen to be working towards that rather for them to engage the government? You saw TUC. They said in a toolbox, you have a lot of tools that are meant for different functions. So why do you have to take everything and throw it to the sea when you have a 40 vehicle? So that's our own position, that Joe Ajero need to behave like a true Nigerian, not when you see a situation that is going bad, you now help that situation to go to the worst. That is our own suspicion.
So, you said when you see a situation going bad, making it go worse. But I would like to take cast your mind back a bit. The current administration to, 2012, way back, also protested before they got into power. As a matter of fact, they were in the opposition for so long, and part of the tools they used in that box was protest. And right now we are seeing Nigerians saying, you know what? There's hardship, there's hunger in the land. We need you to, allow our voices to be heard. And for that reason, they want to back on a protest. And right now we are seeing a situation whereby, whether through legal means or otherwise, you're trying to stop these people. Don't you also suspect here political intolerance and also some level of hypocrisy?
No, you see, for me, I am going to put the blame at the doorstep of the APC administration, because APC succeeded APC. You understand me? So it is left to us now to comport ourselves in a more civil manner. We will challenge on the government. Let them come on the table, with whatever they are going to do. But the two unions are the, voices of Nigeria. But the TUC is saying, no, we have a very volatile situation now. I am also supporting the strike. Are you getting me? But what we are saying is that NSC ought not to just come out to help them to fuel, the crisis. That's our position. Now, regarding a police stopping protest, that one is wrong, it's unconstitutional. But they could have just at least, follow them to make sure, those street searching do not hijack, the process. They have no right to stop anybody, but just that they will make sure everybody conduct themselves in a civil manner.
Now, let's, of course, look at the policies by the current administration in addressing many of the issues Nigerians are going through, particularly the basic issues, talking about feeding and, of course, we know accommodation and the likes. What do you think of the, what I call it, palliative moves by the government in terms of policy and also commodity?
Well, I think each state government are trying to do their best with respect to the increased allocation that they are giving them now. But I think some of them might need time, and Nigeria should always, keep watch over most of the governors. So that those of them that are being given palliative by the federal government or that even did it on their own should be. Honestly, Nigerians are suffering. We are also suffering. Nigerians are suffering, including me, including you, except those, for God knows, who might not feel it. But I know 99.6% of Nigeria are feeling the heat. I know that. But we will need to watch our governors. We need to watch them very well. Let us consider ourselves, to an association that will not keep all of the governors on their toes so that we will be able to see that they do the needful.
All right, Dr. Abayomi Arabambi, National Publicity Secretary, Labour Party, and also a political analyst. Thank you for your time. Away from that, the Nigerian government has allayed fears of workers over the recently adopted Onrosoye report, which mandates the merging of several key agencies and the scrapping of some others. Nigeria's Minister of Information and National Orientation, after the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting, says workers in the agencies affected will not have their jobs terminated, despite government's promise of aiming to reduce costs as recommended by the report. Now, News Central's Amadine Uyi tells us more.
From the Federal Executive Council meeting was the adoption of the Onrosoye report by the Council, which recommended the merging of several agencies and the scrapping of some others. Nigeria's Minister of Information and National Orientation, however, allayed the fears of many staff in the affected agencies, saying their jobs remain intact.
The Onrosoye report has been approved and adopted by Council today. Does not mean that people will lose their jobs. All those who are employed, whether they have been moved, subsumed, or scrapped, will find accommodation within relevant government agencies.
Other ministers from the digital economy, education, finance, and works took time to give their updates.
There has been a review of the existing mechanisms, a review of the existing programs, and where there have been successes, such as in the 400,000 beneficiaries of the GEEP program, and so on and so forth. Those have been identified and recognized. School feeding program.
The other thing I would like to chip in here also is the unemployment benefit that the president is mandated that we look into. And one of the areas where this touches on the digital economy is a program that we've launched to train 3 million technical talents. On Thursday, we're going to be scaling that program to 10%, which would mean we're going to announce a new set of people, up to 270,000 people that will benefit from this program.
The council thought it's important for the universities to be reminded of their obligations under the various laws, the various acts setting up the universities, and then some financial regulations post-IPPS. And these all pertain to ensuring that tertiary institutions employ staff only when there is a budgetary provision for it.
Today, we had the approval of FAKE for the construction of 700 kilometers of coastal route running from Lagos through the 9 coastal routes or states up to Cross River.
The Federal Executive Council meeting is the second for the year. The reports from cabinet ministers revealed that there is progress by government along several fronts. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
Joining me to discuss this is lawyer and public affairs analyst Tunji Abdul Hamid. Thank you so much for your time, Tunji.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be with you.
All right. Now, it took about 12 years and some rejections by previous administrations to get here. Now, how has the delay in implementing the recommendations of the Onrosoye report impacted the efficiency of government's agency and parastatals? And You know, the obstacles that prevented the full implementation of these recommendations, do you think they've been, of course, overcome?
I don't think so. It has been overcome because you see, in Nigeria we have a way of dousing detention in the land. Our government, they know our tricks. Whenever there's an issue on grant, they bring out one thing or the other so that people will discuss. I see this as a game, as playing to the gallery, and not a way to do anything. You see, the Oreseye committee was set up to see how we can reduce costs in governance and to ensure more efficiency and effectiveness. That was the essence why it was set up. And if the government is saying they want to implement it now, and they are saying so many people will not lose their jobs, I don't see the correlation between the two. How do you want to save costs? Where are you saving the cost from? If people who are in particular ministry will be moved to another ministry, and they will still continue to collect what they are collecting, and those, except if they are saying, look, the purpose of this is just for effectiveness, or they just want a leaner ministry or parastatals or MDAs, then in that case, I would say, okay, probably they have a case. But if it's about cutting costs, I tell you, there's no way people will not lose their job, except the government is not sincere with their position. Because you see, when you create a ministry out of, like as of today, we have over 1,000 MDAs, and then you say you are going to march, then it will reduce to like 250 or 300 or so. Where will you put those other people who are being moved from that? You join them with the existing parastatal, and they will still continue to pay. So the idea that nobody will lose their job, for me, as far as I'm concerned, is government not being sincere in their position. There's no way that will not cause loss of jobs. It will definitely resulted into loss of jobs. And I just hope that, look, the government is not stop playing to the gallery or just looking to play politics, because a situation whereby this will become like subsidy is gone. You remember what happened when the subsidy is gone? It later turned out to be that, look, the government did not even plan very well for the consequences of the subsidy is gone. I hope the government has looked into the likely consequence or consequences of this merging. Because you see, when you merge, definitely, like I said, in my own position, even though the government said the job will not be lost, I just hope when the time comes and people are losing their job, they will be able to meet the consequences of paying them off based on their entitlements. Because if you don't plan for it now, if it's not in your plan, you won't be able to meet up with it. And it will not be a major problem for the government to deal with. I think it's going to be a difficult policy to be implemented by the government, especially by this government that has created more ministry than any other government in this.
Tunji, I just want to chip in here. I mean, do we foresee any legal crossfire, happening as a result of the implementation of this report, either from agencies themselves or individuals within these agencies?
In fact, that is my conspiracy. That is why I was thinking that, look, the plan is this, that after a while, some people will go to court, they will obtain another from the court, or they will say the court matter is in court, and the government will be stalled in implementing that. Government will now trace the failure to implement that policy to the court cases already ongoing. For me, like I said earlier on, it's just a desperate effort by the government to rescue certain situations or to portray to people that they are doing what the people wanted. You remember the way that was the way the people told us that PA and IB bill, whenever it's implemented, it will be the end of our problem in our oil sector. You remember how people said the subsidy removal is our major problem, and what is gone. So this government wants to be popular, and it wants to be doing things that he thought people will be happy about. And it's not about that. You don't just do policy to play to the gallery. You look at the critical position of those policies, and that was the mistake the government did when it came in. When they came in initially, the president did not even look at the books. He announced subsidy is gone. After the announcement, that's when he was now looking at solution to the problem that was created.
I'm sorry to come in here, Tunji. I mean, but let's look at the initiative itself and the relevance of some ministries and agencies. Frankly, do you think that, some agencies, in terms of responsibilities, it's quite duplicated, or some of them have actually, outlived their relevance. And hence, this report, the validity of its implementation becomes tenable.
Yeah, I definitely agree that there are agencies that are not supposed to even be in existence. There are some that are doing a double job, a job that are supposed to be done by one agency. So what, do we need this reduction? Yes, for me, it's yes. Are we doing the right thing in reducing the what's it called, the MDAs? Yes, but my problem is this: as government put the right, have they thought through the process of doing it? What are the likely consequences? Have they looked into that? Have they put into consideration the cost of doing it? What are the cost effects of the consequences of it? Those are my problem. So I'm not saying the government should not go into it or should not implement it, but they should do a thorough analysis of it and not rush into it. The 12-week, I tell you, is not going to be enough. There will be legal, there will be constitutional amendments to effect some of these changes. And I tell you, some people will also be likely go to court to challenge this implementation. Those are also there. So I think the government should not rush itself into implementing these policies. They should look at it critically, make provisions for the consequences of it, so that it won't be like the subsidy removal. That the government, after removing it, they are not looking for how to palliate or how to reduce the hardship being created. And the hardship is sitting now. We're now after 3 of the problem they have on ground before subsidy was removed. So for me, it's inevitable. We need to do. There are some agencies that we don't even need them. There are some agencies that are not even relevant. There are some agencies that are not even doing anything. So like orientation agency, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know what they are doing because they are just there, sitting down. Some other agencies that I cannot remember now. There are so many of them that I cannot even recall that you don't even know what business they are doing, or they are doing businesses that have been done by other ministry or government or agency. So whether do we need this reduction? To me, I am in support of reduction of it. But I want to say, I encourage the government to not rush into it. The government should look at it critically, examine it, look at the pros and the cons of it, the positive and the negative of it. Find solutions to those things that are likely to cause a hardship or problem when implementing it. Those are the way, that is the way the policy will be implemented in such a way that people will not be affected. But the way it is now today, the way I see the government pronounce it, I think the government is not prepared for this implementation. They just rush into it. Probably I don't know the purpose, but my belief is that they just rush into it without thinking deep about it.
All right, Tunji Abdul Hamid, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
All right. Now, information technology plays a key role in land administration in the 21st century. This, the Lagos State government says it targets an efficient management and analysis of land-related data during the distribution of planning information system tools to officials of the State Ministry of Land.
For years, accessing planning documents in Lagos has been a complex process. However, LASPIC is changing the game with this innovative system. By integrating cutting-edge technology, the center aims to enhance accessibility and user experience for everyone.
We want to encourage people at the comfort of their home to interface with the ministry, even from lands, electronically. They don't necessarily have to physically be here before they get things done. That's where the world is looking at now, that e-planning, at the comfort of their homes, they can sit down and apply and get their building plan approval.
This new system comes with several benefits that would not only save time and resources, but also promote transparency and accountability. With easier access to information, Lagos residents can stay informed about ongoing projects and participate more actively in shaping the future of the city.
In terms of what we are doing now, Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, in his bid to deliver quality service to the people of Lagos State, has decided that from the comfort of their homes, they should be able to visit LASPIC online, get a certified true copy of approvals that are missing, or even apply for a building permit online. So that's part of the things that you see.
The Lagos State government says it is committed towards the 2023 Smart City Vision, thus leveraging technology in that regard.
The Ugandan military says it is on high alert and closely following the unstable situation in the eastern part of the neighboring Democratic Republic of the Congo. The entire borderline is under surveillance following intense fighting between DRC troops and M23 rebels. Major Bilal Katamba, spokesperson for the Mountain Division of the Ugandan People's Defense Forces, who also speaks for Operation Suja, a UPDF mission hunting down Allied Democratic Forces, ADF rebels in the eastern DRC, said the army is also on alert given that the ADF has recently started crossing into Uganda and wreaking havoc. United States President Joe Biden says he hopes to have a ceasefire in the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. His comments come amidst reports of some progress in indirect negotiations involving Israeli and Hamas officials. It will involve aid deliveries to Gaza and the release of more hostages taken during the October 7th Hamas attacks. Qatar, which has been mediating in the talks alongside Egypt, said they were pushing hard for a deal and felt optimistic, but had nothing to announce. Israel launched a large-scale air and ground campaign in Gaza after Hamas gunmen killed about 1,200 persons in southern Israel. The attackers also took 253 persons hostage, a number of whom have since been released. Now, joining us to give more insight on this is our international correspondent, Afua Hagen. Now, Afua, tell us, how has this peace deal come, about?
Well, this is a peace deal that's been negotiated in Paris. You have Israel, Egypt, and Qatar, and of course, Palestine at the table, and talking about what it would mean to have a peace deal. And one of the cornerstones of that peace deal is obviously the release of hostages. Now, Hamas still has a number of hostages that were taken on October the 7th. And Israel still maintained that the point of the war, apart from the total destruction of Hamas, is to get those hostages back. So the proposal that's on the table that, according to Joe Biden, could be in place by next week, Monday, would mean 40 Israeli hostages would be freed in exchange for 400 Palestinian prisoners. Those hostages would be all Israeli women, children under 19, the elderly over 50, and sick hostages, and they would be released in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. Also under the proposal, you would have 500 aid trucks allowed into Gaza every day, as well as caravans and tents being sent, and hospitals and bakeries also being repaired. And that's a very important part of the deal as well, because the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is growing every single day.
Now, we've heard about the resignation of the government of the Palestinian Authority. Now, what's your take on this? What happened?
Yes, the Prime Minister and his government tendered their resignation to the President, Mahmoud Abbas. He accepted their decision, and it's part of trying to have a technocratic government in place, one that will be able to work with all the major players in this conflict, whether that is Qatar, whether that's Egypt, any of the surrounding countries. It's about having a government that can govern Gaza after this Israel-Hamas war ends. Now, last week you had President of Israel, President Benjamin Netanyahu, presented a vision for the territory that had no mention at all for the Palestinian Authority. But it is clear that they will play a very important part of the future of Gaza when this conflict ends. So at the moment, the government have resigned. A more technocratic government will be put in place. That's the hope that will move some ways towards rebuilding Gaza after this conflict is over.
Now, aid agencies are failing to deliver what Gaza needs, and the territory is actually struggling. What can you tell us?
Absolutely. This stems from the banning of the UN agency, the UNRWA. Now, it was thought that, or Israel have thought that about 12% of their 13,000 staff are working for Hamas. And that caused lots of countries, including the United Kingdom and the United States, to stop sending funding to this UN agency that basically props up Gaza. Now, in that peace deal that we talked about, part of that peace deal will have 500 trucks of aid going into Gaza every day. That's what Gaza needs just to feed the people that it has at the moment. You only have 90 trucks going in every single day. And of those trucks, many of them are hijacked at the border. Many of the goods that are on those trucks are taken to market and sold for a profit, as opposed to getting to the places that they are supposed to go. And that's because you don't have the proper infrastructure on the ground from all these aid agencies, to be able to get the aid to the places that it's supposed to go. So that's exacerbating an already terrible situation when it comes to the humanitarian crisis that is playing out in Gaza.
Afua, thank you so much for your time and the update. And in business, PricewaterhouseCoopers, a multinational accounting firm, published a document that critically examines South Africa's 2024 budget. The document notes that while the budget did not implement direct tax increases, the absence of inflation adjustment to personal income tax brackets will indirectly result in higher taxes for households. Additionally, it highlighted the National Treasury optimism about economic growth in the South African country, foreseeing that structural reforms and interventions in energy, logistics and safety will enhance business and investment sentiment. Christy Vision, that's economist and senior manager at Strategy, PwC South Africa, discoursed the implications of these changes on tax revenue and the broader South African economy as a guest on the Business Edge show.
Well, the expectation from government is that this will create for them about 16 billion rand in extra revenue. That's just short of $1 billion US dollars if you want to convert that. So it provides government with extra revenue, but it does take away from disposable income, as I mentioned. It means that the options for people to spend on luxury items, to spend on, for example, furniture or appliances, there's added pressure on that as they continue to focus on essentials like housing and transport and food. So it is positive for government revenue.
And Captain Blessing Etim's female yellow-green cricket team lost by 49 runs to the 5th ICC-ranked team in Africa in the ongoing NCF Women's T20I tournament at TBS Lagos. Now, Tanzania won the toss and battled first, setting up a high target of 135 runs for the Nigerian girls to chase. Tanzania batter, that's Samu Godfrey, was on 5 runs when she survived 2 dropped catches but went on to punish Nigeria by scoring 38 runs. The Nigerian girls went into the second inning chase but lost early wickets as top Nigerian batters like Favour Segbe and Esther Sunday and also Peti Lucky and Salome Sunday failed to perform maximally, therefore exposing the weaker batters. And that's all on the news at this time, but before we go, another look at some of our top stories. We told you that the Central Bank of Nigeria has raised monetary policy rate to 22.75%. We also told you that Nigeria Labour Congress protests have been held nationwide. And finally, we told you that Uganda is on high alert amidst worsening tensions in eastern DR Congo. Don't forget to send in your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. You can also follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Thanks for watching. I am Dapo Adeboye. Bye for now.